So, you see someone laying on the ground and not breathing. What do you do? Interestingly enough, a lot of people actually panic during this particular moment, and it is in these few minutes when somebody isn't breathing that is the most crucial to potentially saving them. What we're actually going to be doing today is talking about something in relating to English while we also are learning about a way to save somebody's life. So, what is our main topic? Today, we're actually going to be looking at punctuation, and I want you on each slide to pay particular attention to what punctuation is on each slide, whether it be a period, a question mark, quotation marks, an exclamation point, a colon, or so forth. Each slide, I'm actually going to point out to you some specific uses of punctuation. That way, by the end of this PowerPoint, what we can do is really try to write sentences and include good punctuation skills. So throughout this, you're going to see the video pause for your standard questions, but I am going to ask you to write a response that actually incorporates the punctuation I talked about. So what did those three dots mean on the first slide? After all, you see them, or you probably see them used a lot, especially with my PowerPoints. Here was the statement again. You see someone laying on the ground and not breathing, dot, dot, dot. Huh, why am I doing that? And what is it called? Okay, why do we use those three periods? If you look at my cow to the right, I got the first half of the cow, dot, 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 last half of the cow. That is actually usually called an ellipsis. And I'm saying the word usually because it's not always called an ellipsis. What is an ellipsis? It usually indicates an intentional omission of a word, sentence, or whole section from a text without altering its original meaning. So if I take a look at this cow, you see the front half of the cow, dot, 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 end half of the cow. The middle of the cow isn't included in the picture. I didn't change the meaning of the cow, I just omitted it or got rid of it. And how this would be used in an English paper is, let's say you take out several sentences from the story To Kill a Mockingbird or another book in a quotation. You just didn't need all those middle sentences in your quotation to get your point across. You can use the dot, dot, dot. However, there's another form of this dot, dot, dot or ellipsis. Depending on their context and placement in a sentence, the ellipsis can also indicate an unfinished thought, a leading statement, a slight pause, or a mysterious or echoing voice, or a nervous or awkward silence. When we take a look at that, that is called a different word. The aposiopesis is the use of an ellipsis to trail off into silence. So when I used it in the above context, you see someone laying on the ground and not breathing, dot, dot, dot. That is an example of an aposiopesis rather than the ellipsis because I'm not missing or I'm not taking out a section of different sentences. I'm trailing off. I'm giving you a mysterious pause or a break. So we're going to go back to our lesson after I have you use an ellipsis or an aposiopesis. When do you think you might need to use CPR? After all, that's I guess, our cover lesson after what we're talking about in punctuation. Please note that that is a question mark. Question marks are used when you have a question. You might need to use CPR in a car accident. That could be with you or one you see on the side of the road. You might need to use it in your home. Just as a side note, most people have a heart attack in their own home or in the bathroom of their own home. But why? A lot of times, when somebody is going to the bathroom and they are precursoring to have a heart attack or they're a predisposition to having a heart attack, a lot of times it will actually occur while they're going to the bathroom. All right. So, ironically enough, a lot of times, if somebody is in need of CPR in their home, it'll be during a heart attack and potentially in the bathroom. Anytime a person can't be woken up and not breathing, that's something I'm really going to stress here. We only use CPR when somebody is not breathing. All right, please note my stars that I'm using here. Okay, I'm just drawing attention on this slide. Also, for the word can't, CAN apostrophe T. Okay, what does that stand for? Anytime a person cannot be woken up or can't. If I take a look at the previous statement, most people have a heart attack there, dot, dot, dot. But why? We're actually going to get into how that's used, but that is incorporating, again, that mysterious pause. If a person is breathing, all you have to do is call 911. Again, if we were looking at this lesson and I were to say we're talking about CPR and CPR only and not punctuation, one of the things I would tell you is that if a person is breathing, just call 911. Is CPR dangerous for the person giving it? Question mark. Again, I asked you a question. What do you think? Question mark. Again, look at all these questions I have on this slide. What do you think? Is CPR dangerous for you? Absolutely not. All you're doing is helping somebody in a time of need, whether it be a stranger or somebody you love. Regardless, if I was having a medical issue on the side of the road or after an accident or in a mall, I would hope somebody locally would at least attempt to perform CPR to save my life. CPR in the home versus in public. So here we go. I have two pictures. You see somebody on a beach. Man, I cannot wait for it to be summer. After all, with all the snow on our ground, I am freezing. Even right now, as I'm recording, I'm looking outside, looking at all this snow. Looking at this picture gives me hope. You hope you don't have to use CPR on vacation or on the beach, but you never know. That would be a public spot. But in your home, that is where it also could come in handy, especially for somebody you love. First thing you should do, call 911. Place them on speakerphone if you can. Take a look at this colon, by the way. We're going to talk a little bit about the colon. Call 911. Is that a sentence? Call 911. What do you think? Yes, it is. Call 911 is an exclamatory sentence. Place them on speakerphone if you can is another sentence. That colon is joining those two separate sentences, and that is one function of a colon, joining two sentences. Then begin CPR. Is that a sentence? Then begin CPR. Yes, it is a sentence. Follow their instructions, comma, but still remember the lesson from today. Those are two separate sentences again combined by that colon. Let's say you're in public. What do? Scream for help. If you were in a mall or on a beach, there's always a potential that there's somebody localized near you, such as a doctor or a nurse who has had official training in CPR. Screaming for help can definitely get their attention. Next thing you want to do, same as in home, call 911 and place them on speakerphone. If there's other people around you, they can also call 911. Again, look at that use of the colon. Call 911, place them on speakerphone. Two sentences joined by a colon. Continue with steps from this lesson and still listen to them, period. Don't forget, periods are important. You'll notice as I say a question or a period or a comma, there's a general tone in my voice where you'll hear me pause. The punctuation in the sentence tells you where to pause or the reader. Therefore, when you're writing sentences and you don't include punctuation, it makes a run-on sentence and it doesn't allow the reader to pause. So why are we using a colon in the above sentences? Again, a colon can join two complete sentences that have connecting thoughts. What I want you to do is try practicing writing a sentence using a colon. Try writing two sentences that have a similar topic. I might say, look at the dog on the sofa. He is sleeping. Rather than saying, look at the dog on the sofa, period. He is sleeping, period. I could say, look at the dog on the sofa, colon. He is sleeping, period. Again, try practicing on your own. So what is CPR? Question, right? There's my question mark. CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Whew, mouthful. Look at those big words. So you can just say CPR. People will understand you just fine. The people in this picture are taking a class on CPR. You'll see that they also have air masks for breathing. You won't have those in an emergency situation. But if you are a trained professional, such as an EMT in future years, they will certainly give you one. What is it? Again, here's the definition: a combination of chest compressions and rescue breathing, or mouth to mouth resuscitation, period. If someone isn't circulating blood or breathing adequately, CPR can restore circulation of oxygen rich blood to the brain. Again, take a look at all the pauses that were in that sentence. A combination of chest compressions and rescue breathing, mouth to mouth resuscitation. If someone isn't circulating blood or breathing adequately, CPR can restore circulation of oxygen rich blood to the brain. If you notice during each punctuation, I took a breath. That way, you're speaking at the right tone and timing. So here are your steps before CPR. Is the person conscious or unconscious? That's important, actually. You need to know, is the person awake or not? If the person appears unconscious, tap or shake her or his shoulder and ask loudly, "Are you okay?" Look at these punctuation marks, all right? I'm going to pause. Again, listen to all those pauses. One, also take a look at the parentheses around "Are you okay?" Why are they there? They're there because somebody in the sentence is asking a literal line, almost as in a play. If the person appears unconscious, comma, tap or shake his or her shoulder and then ask loudly, "Are you okay?" Again, those parentheses go around something that's directly being said. By the way, for CPR, if the person is awake and breathing and able to respond, you do not need to do CPR. If the person doesn't respond and two people are available, one should call 911 and or the local emergency number, and one should begin CPR. But if you're all alone, again, as on a previous slide, call 911 and then begin the steps. If you are alone and have immediate access to a telephone, call 911 again before beginning CPR, unless you think the person has become unresponsive because of suffocation, such as from drowning. In this special case, you begin CPR for 1 minute and then call 911 or the local emergency number. So again, before you start CPR, you check to see if the person is awake. Once you've determined that they're not awake, you call 911 unless they're choking or drowning, and then start CPR. If they're drowning or choking, then you start CPR and then call 911. If an AED, which is a defibrillator, is immediately available, you deliver one shock if instructed by the device, then begin CPR. One of the videos I'm going to show you in class is how easy it is to use these defibrillators now. They're usually located in the mall or at schools or in other public places. All you have to remember is to spell CAB for cab. C stands for compressions, A stands for airway, B stands for breathing. So CAB, remember to spell it. Look at those hyphens on this page. C hyphen A hyphen B. It's when you're breaking apart a word or a sentence and you're using that form of punctuation correctly. So airway, clear the airway. Open the person's airway using the head tilt chin lift maneuver. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. So compressions, that's the C from cab. Compressions, restore blood circulation. This is when you're giving a definition or starting a list. That's another use for a colon. Put the person on his or her back on a firm surface, which could be the floor. That's usually the safest spot. You kneel next to the person's neck and shoulders. Again, look at that apostrophe, persons. One person, and then you're giving possession to that person, apostrophe S. Don't forget your periods at the end of a sentence. Place the heel of one hand over the center of the person's chest, between their nipples. Place your other hand on top of your first hand. Keep your elbows straight and position your shoulders directly above your hands. This will give you the most amount of force to deliver chest compressions. Look at that picture going straight down onto the person's chest. Use your upper body weight, not just your arms, as you push straight down, which is compressing the chest at least 2 inches, approximately 5 centimeters. Push hard at the rate of about 100 compressions a minute. We'll talk about that at the end of this video because it's a lot faster than most people actually do. But again, you're not using your arm strength. You're actually putting your whole body on top of their chest and pressing almost as hard as you can, which is about 2 inches down. That would actually take a lot more of your body weight than you would, I guess, predict. Look at, by the way, you see these parentheses. This is giving you additional information in this sentence. So use your upper body weight. Parentheses, not just your arms. It's giving you an additional piece of information. If you haven't been trained in CPR, you can continue chest compressions until there are signs of movement or until emergency medical personnel take over. If you have been trained in CPR, you go on to checking the airway and rescue breathing. Unless you know help is going to be quickly there, you can always move on even without having official training, which is why we're going to talk about it. What we're going to do here is I want you to summarize compressions on the next sentence or on the next question using appropriate punctuation. Airway. So you clear the airway. If you're trained in CPR and you've performed 30 chest compressions, you open the person's airway using the head tilt chin lift maneuver. Put your palm on the person's forehead and gently lift their head back. Then with the other hand, gently lift the chin forward to open their airway. Look at this picture. Very simple. Open their mouth, check for any obstructions, get it out, tilt the person to the back to their on their back. You check for normal breathing, taking no more than 5 or 10 seconds. If their chest isn't moving and if they're not breathing, then you can actually begin mouth-to-mouth breathing. If you believe that the person is unconscious from a heart attack and you haven't been trained in emergency procedures, you can skip the mouth-to-mouth breathing and continue chest compressions, but you must have called 911 at this point. If you do want to continue with mouth-to-mouth breathing, which is what I recommend, I'm going to quick show you how. All right, when you breathe for the person with the airway open using the head tilt chin lift maneuver, again, look at those parentheses, giving you that more additional information. Pinch the nostrils shut for mouth-to-mouth breathing and cover the person's mouth with yours, comma, making a seal, period. Prepare to give 2 rescue breaths, giving the first rescue breath, lasting 1 second, and you watch to see if their chest rises. If the chest doesn't rise, then you actually might have to tilt their head back even further, so doing more of a head tilt, chin lift, and then you can give the second breath. Then you resume your chest compressions to restore their circulation. If the person has not begun moving after 5 cycles, which is about 2 minutes, and you do have that defibrillator, you can give them 1 shock. All right, we're just going to kind of skip over that below. What I want you to do now is take a moment and type what you should do to check somebody's airway using correct punctuation. You never know when you may need to save somebody's life. Remember to use the song Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Sing this song to time your chest compressions. We could watch this video in class, but I'm actually going to quick check on it now. And this song, for as much as it may be funny, may save somebody's life if you need the timing for CPR. Listen to the downbeat in the song, even though it's an old 1977 song, that might give you the information on how to best save somebody's life at that particular moment.